Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Dream Team web series. I am super excited to introduce Anthem Salgado, who is here to speak with us today about entrepreneurship and marketing. Anthem helps Bay Area self-employed professionals clear a pathway to growing their business while still maintaining their soul, creativity, and well-being. His coaching service, Art of Hustle, is now in its 8th year. Like, what a tremendous feat, and holds the #1 spot for marketing on Yelp in San Francisco. Hi, Anthem.
Hi, Natasha. Thank you so much for having me, and hello, internet world. Thank you for joining us.
Well, yes, I want to thank you for being part of this masterclass and serving this community of entrepreneurs who have a desire to be successful and don't always have the platform to do it or the advice or foundation. So thanks. I want the audience to get to know you better, and I know that my introduction was super brief. So why don't you share something about yourself?
Sure. My background is actually not in business whatsoever. I started out as an artist, a fine artist. I've done almost every genre of art that you can think of, from visual art to literary art to theater and performance. And throughout that entire time, spanning about 15 years of commitment to that field, I was also doing a lot of administrative work, which is where I sort of like developed my initial chops in marketing. So I was helping a lot of artists and arts organizations do their marketing. Around the sort of like 2008, 2010 recession, I basically found myself in a tough spot employment-wise, as the entire world did. And after scraping by for so long, I just decided I need to do something out of the box. And that's when I launched my consulting practice. So initially it was a marketing consulting practice for artists and nonprofit organizations. And over time it evolved to include sales, leadership, management, all the kinds of things that basically that people would need to be more complete in running their practices. So that's how Art of Hustle came to be, and how I found myself in the position of business coach, even though it's nothing I have schooling in. I have like street schooling, I guess, right?
Yes, well, it's experience. You learn through experience, and I think when it comes to knowledge, a lot of that does come from experience, and that's the most valuable versus like actual school education, if we're going to be honest.
Yeah, it's all about the live trials, right?
Yeah, you learn so much from it, and I think it's great. The Art of Hustle, you must have so many clients, have helped the numerous entrepreneurs, and I noticed that you spoke on your site about how you helped entrepreneurs advance with clarity and intention. What does that actually mean? Because I think when people like to throw out clarity and intentions out there without actually defining what that actually is.
Yeah, sure. So for me, it's two things. One, it's adherence to one's existing values. A lot of times, because of my background, I attract a lot of people who are into the work for the sake of community and helping develop themselves and other people. And the old school ideas of business being cutthroat don't really line up with their existing values. So what I try to help people do is see a business in a whole other way, that they can do it with integrity, to do it in a way that is honest and open and ethical, so that they don't basically have to trade out one identity for the other. So that's one way that I help people get that sense of intention and clarity. The other way I do it is through the actual master planning, because the truth of the matter is, in the age of information, with the internet being so wild and crazy, if you were to look up search terms business advice or business tips, you'd get millions of results. And as a small business owner, it's very easy to get confused and to think everything needs to be done that's being advised, right? You got Entrepreneur Magazine, Forbes, Harvard Business Review, all these different, and the numerous online publications also giving all kinds of advice. It's easy to get attracted to all of these things and never really develop an actual system, because you're just doing tips and tricks the entire time. It's like, the tale of the emperor's new clothes. You know what I mean? It's like, you don't realize that even with all of this activity, you're actually still doing nothing. So the intention and clarity is, if you intend to succeed in business, this is how we do it. Let's make a plan. Let's make it clear. Let's make it actionable. Let's give you an actual roadmap so that you can get to where you're trying to get to.
I think that's super smart. I also believe, I'm just like, when I'm thinking when you're starting, when you're doing your own roadmap, I think what a lot of entrepreneurs make the mistake of when they're trying to do this on their own is looking at someone else's roadmap and then trying to mimic the same thing, which in actuality, it's kind of smart when you think about it because they use that same roadmap to become successful, but what one person's roadmap might not be successful for your business and what you're trying to accomplish.
Agreed.
And like, how would you go about having someone figure out what that is in regards to like all this information that's out there?
Yeah. So I think it is important to find a wing to climb under, because the truth of the matter is, this is what I believe. Everyone's very capable. And if you put your heart to something, you could accomplish anything. The problem is you're on a timeline, because you're only going to live, I don't know, 80 years if you're good, you know what I mean? 90 years if you really take care of yourself. The truth of the matter is we don't have long enough on this earth to make all the mistakes, to learn everything. If we did, I honestly believe no one would be left behind. You'd learn it all eventually. But we're on a timeline. And if you want to accelerate your timeline, you have to learn from somebody who has done it. Now, going back to the thing that you were saying, the important part is, and this is something I tell all my clients, practice mastery, not mimicry. And by that, I mean, look at the principles that help someone succeed and not just that specific thing that they did, because that specific thing that they did might work for them because of their particular circumstance or their particular industry. But if you're looking at principles, I could look at a manufacturing company, I could look at a basketball player, I could look at anybody and get the right ideas if I understand principles and not just the outward actions and manifestations, if that makes sense.
No, it totally makes sense. And it's because the fact that your environments could be different, your goals could be different, just the way you want to go about. And that's why I really valued what you said in regards to adherence to your existing values, because when it comes, everyone's different. There's people who don't care about being honest. There's people that want to be extremely transparent and have a ton of integrity. There's some people that just think solely about the money. And you could get lost in all of that and finding what is truly you identify with. So when you're talking about clarity and being true to your actual core values, is that even possible? Because I think too, a lot of people like to put that to the wayside because they're like, values don't matter in business. But I feel like that should be crucial because that's true to your identity and that should reflect in your business.
It should be positively 100% reflected in your business. I think that when you lead with your values, you're going to attract the right kinds of clients and customers. Whereas if you just want to make money, that's sort of empty and backwards, because the truth of the matter is you can make money doing anything. And making money is a result of having performed an action. And it shouldn't be a goal by itself. It's actually an outcome to having done certain things. So the certain things that I think that people should be doing is leading with their values. If you want to make a contribution, then make that contribution. And as a result, you will make money, right? But if you only go with money, then you'll be kind of soulless. You know, that's probably the most polite way I could put it.
But then also that could also lead to you setting yourself up for failure, because if that's your only goal, you're missing out all the things that people find interesting in companies and they create like a bond with them.
Exactly.
You know, like I think it's totally true. It does become soulless. Like it doesn't have anything backed up against it. Like,
right.
And I really think that that's crucial right now. In the environment that we're in now, maybe back in the days when our parents were growing up, that was fine. But I think now it's really important to have a value system attached to a business, because that's what attracts clients now.
And that's especially true for people who identify as self-employed. And those are all the folks that I help, because at the end of the day, your business's reputation is your own reputation, right? So if you do things out of integrity, that doesn't reflect just poorly on your practice, that reflects poorly on you as a person, as the leader of this micro enterprise. So it's all about like keeping things really tuned in to what that individual believes is true and right for them.
Based on your coaching experience, what are the most common mistakes entrepreneurs make that prevent them from advancing?
There are so many.
Let's stick to the top three at least.
Yeah. I'll give you a top three that's coming to mind right now.
Okay.
There are three things. This is what I like to call this in my introductory workshops and seminars. There's a concept that I like to call the 3 sets. SETS. 3 sets that you need to succeed. The first one is mindset. Right? You have to believe, you have to have a practice of belief in yourself, in your capability, in your skill. You have to have growth mindset. You have to be an avid learner, right? The second is skill set, meaning even if you believe, that's not going to be enough, right? And the example that I give is I might believe I can climb a mountain. Like if someone were to ask me, can you climb a mountain? I'd probably say yes, because I believe in myself. But that in itself is not enough to actually climb a mountain. If I were to attempt that without the skill set, I would probably do myself harm, right? So skill set means having a roadmap, having a plan, having developed some basic abilities to advance, those kinds of things, okay? Now, the last thing I like to call the get set, meaning like, how do you really get yourself set? How do you really get yourself immersed? And the key words there are people and community. Because, you know, for a long while, I believed mindset and skill set were the only things that I needed and that any of my clients ever needed to succeed. And then I realized that anyone who proceeds with just those 2 things will be operating in a vacuum. And the bad part is, one day you're going to need some emotional support, some psychological support. One day you're going to need some mentorship, or you're going to need someone to advise you. And the only people who are going to get you are the people who are on that same journey with you. And so I'm a big believer in developing masterminds and developing community and joining certain groups and making sure you surround yourself with people who are going in the same direction. That way, if you ever need advice, if you ever need someone to carry you along just a little bit, that you have those people, you don't just sort of drift off into outer space.
No, I think you're so spot on with that. I think the old way of thinking was just mindset and skill set. But then having that support system around you, I think is crucial. And it's that theory of you can't be alone on an island by yourself when you're starting a business.
Yeah.
Right? Because not only are you just like isolating yourself, there's no potential for you to grow because you're only seeing things from your perspective and whatever bubble you're in.
Exactly.
Once you allow to branch off and allow to have other people support you, give you advice, help you grow, and also allow other people to be experts in what they know, because you don't know everything as an entrepreneur, especially if you want to think that you do. You don't.
Yeah.
You don't know how to do accounting. You don't know how to do. You're not a lawyer. You don't know. You don't have legal advice. You need people around you, and I swear to gosh, like I wish I could video record some of my clients sometimes. When they say things, I'm like, where did you find this information? Oh, you know, like when I was in college and I did some research. I'm like, wouldn't you rather go to an expert who actually knows what they're doing and save the headache of having to have done all that research, which is probably not valid?
Yeah.
You know, it baffles me.
Yeah. And, you know, just to add to that also, the cool thing about friends and family as your first community, the cool and bad thing is a lot of times people will cheer you on. Okay. So that's a good thing. We need that. The bad thing is sometimes people will just tell you, wow, that looks like a hard life. Maybe you should give up, right? They all do it from a place of love. Unfortunately, it's just not informed.
Mhm.
Those opinions are not informed. So it's better to surround yourself by people who are in it or who have really done it. And that way, when they advise you, you know it's coming from a place of love, but also experience.
Experience.
Yeah.
Yes. So I want to quickly touch on marketing because I want to pick your brain a little bit about it, and
Sure.
I want you to share your expertise a little bit. So, in your opinion, how important do you think marketing is for a starting entrepreneur?
It's the way I teach my clients. It's, let's see, it's one of four things that you really need. Okay. So I'll name the four things right now. Number one, you have to have superior product or service, because without that, you don't even have a business.
Mhm.
Number two, you got to have awesome marketing, because without that, you might have superior product or service, but nobody's going to know about it. Number three, you got to have awesome sales skills, because even if you have superior product and service and you have fantastic marketing, if you don't have awesome sales skills, you're never going to close a deal, and then you're never going to make money. And then you basically have a hobby and not a business. And that's nothing wrong with having a hobby. I've had lots of them, but if you're going to make a legit go at having a business, you have to learn sales skills that
Mhm.
are, again, in tune with your value system. And then the last thing is to have real high level management and leadership ability. And so where does marketing fit into all of that? It's only one piece of a bigger puzzle. And within that piece, what I would advise people to think about is, don't get so obsessed with the tools. Because if you look up marketing, a lot of times people will happen upon tools. So SEO, graphic design, business cards, brochures, flyers, website, copywriting. Then you got paid advertising, AdWords, Facebook, Instagram, social media in general. It's so easy to get caught up in all the marketing tools, but really the thing that I like to tell people is those are vehicles meant to deliver a message, and those vehicles will never be more important than the actual message. So your message is it. And I believe if the internet were to collapse today, or if you were to move to some small town that wasn't really internet reliant, your business ability should be able to carry you because your message is strong, not because you relied on all these tools. Because I know a lot of people who focus on all the tools and they go, I don't know what's wrong with my marketing. I'm doing so much of it, but they neglected the main part is those marketing tools are meant to deliver a message. And if your message isn't clear, you could do any marketing you want and it won't work.
Mhm.
So message is first and foremost.
Amazing. I love that. I think, but also without a message, you don't have an identity. Like, 'cause that's kind of like what your business is based off of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So, what would be your number one advice to any entrepreneur creating a business to execute their vision?
To execute their vision, probably I would say assuming that this individual will have followed all the other advice I'd given, right? So they got a strong mindset, they're developing their skills, they're constantly training, they've immersed themselves with some kind of mastermind or some community group or some other kind of like some mentorship group. Assuming they've done all of that, they're paying attention to their product and service, their marketing, their sales. If they really, sorry, now I'm totally went down the rabbit hole, almost lost my thought there. Ask the question again, sorry.
No, it's totally cool. The number one advice you would give to any entrepreneur
Yes.
creating building a business to execute their
Yes.
vision.
Yes. So thank you. Again, assuming that they've done all those other things, the most important thing is to test frequently. I live in the Bay Area, so it's a really popular concept, this idea of prototyping. But I believe business owners should prototype frequently. It's so easy to get caught up in your head thinking, I wonder if this idea would work, or that idea, or this idea, or that idea. And what I always say is launch the low risk version of that idea and see how the market responds, because this is a laboratory and we're conducting live experiments. And if you just keep everything conceptual and on paper, you'll never actually find out. So better to go out there and test your idea and then say every 90 days, which is what I do with my clients, circle back and check in with yourself. How did it work? How did it not work? What could you have done differently? What should you learn now? Ask yourself all those big questions every quarter, and then make a new plan and continue to proceed. Don't get stuck in your head trying to come up with like the perfect plan, because the perfect plan will reveal itself as you get it out. But if you hold it in, you'll never get there. You'll miss out on all this valuable feedback from the actual marketplace.
Yes, entrepreneurship is an experiment. We should always think of it in that way. And so I think people tend to get scared when I mention that. But it's, you're never, everyone has this idea what's perfect, and what they seek is perfection in their business. But most of the time that does not even equate to what actually ends up being successful for you.
Yes.
So I think it does. I like the idea of prototyping. I think that's really cool. I do it in my own business. So great tip. I think it's essential for any entrepreneur. And I just want to say, Anthem, thank you for talking with us today. If you enjoyed today's conversation and want to learn more about Anthem and his work, please visit his website at artofhustle.com. That will actually be on the page where you're watching the video. And actually, we're doing an offer. Well, he's doing an offer for a marketing audit, which will be on the page in a link. So please look out for that and scroll down and click on the link. Thank you again. And you are the only one who can create your vision to be successful. So why not start and do that today? Have a great day, and thank you for joining us.